Hey Jimmy, what you doing?
What's it look like?
Looks like you're way too picky.
I had the whole lawn just about finished when the lawnmower conked out.
What are you doing cutting the lawn for anyway? Where's your gardener?
Oh, she went to have her nails done, I guess.
Are you sure you're just not out of gas?
No, I'm fine.
There's a lot of different ways to cut grass, and today we're going to visit with a man who's collected dozens of vintage lawnmowers, and maybe even pick up a bigger pair of scissors for Jimmy. Hey Dave, what you doing? Taking the old machine out for a spin?
No, I just got done mowing the yard.
You know, when most people have to take care of a lawn, they usually have one machine, but I hear you actually collect lawn and garden tractors and maybe other things.
Yes, I have about 20 garden tractors in my collection, about 10 push mowers. Like any collector, I collect other items also, and they're usually agricultural related collections.
Why don't you invite us in and show us some of your collection?
I'd be more than glad to. Well, Doug, this is part of my collection. I got my start when I was 10 years old. Went out to mow the yard, forgot to check the oil in the engine, and blew it up. And our neighbor was a lawn and garden tractor mechanic. He helped me tear it apart, found out that we destroyed the engine, so we put a new engine on it. And I've been tinkering with lawn and garden tractors, push mowers, engines, farm tractors my whole life. My whole working career has basically been repairing and working on equipment.
Well, that was kind of a good thing to happen then, because it turned into a profession for you.
Exactly, it sure did. I've been self-taught, haven't had any schooling, so I feel pretty fortunate that I've been able to get as far as I have in my working career.
I've noticed you have 3 John Deeres right here. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful. It doesn't even look like they've ever been sat on.
Once you restore them, you have to be a lot more careful with how you treat them. This is the first style of the lawn and garden tractors Deere made, and then the next model style was this one here. The one that looks kind of different is a custom-made tractor. It started out just like this one here. The lawn and garden tractors came about because they started out as a 2-wheeled walking plow for doing vegetable gardens and small gardens in your house. So then they went to 4-wheel to get into the lawn and garden area. The garden tractor collection is basically pre-1984.
What's the significance of the 1984 date, and why don't collectors want to accumulate models that were made after that?
Because basically they started cheapening up the mowers a little bit, more design, they were more advanced, they weren't the old style. A lot of this stuff looks like some of the old farm tractors. Like this case, for instance, looks a lot like the model during the year that was made, and that's in 1974. This Cub Cadet is the same thing. In the early 70s is when this model style came out. Nice thing about this hobby is you can get into this hobby fairly cheap. For under $300, you can buy a tractor like this.
What's that one, the Farm King over there? Is that a Datsun or a Fiat?
That is made by MTD. They are one of the largest manufacturers of lawn and garden products. I'm what you call a multicolored collector. There are your diehards for John Deere, Case, International, whatever. When I started this hobby, I wanted a 140 and a 110. This tractor here and the first hydrostat. Then I wanted one of each brand of manufacturer after that.
Was there ever a manufacturer that was akin to the old Ford Edsel?
Those are actually the rare tractors. Anything that was a fluke or they weren't designed well or they didn't work well, those are the ones that everybody's after. And those are the ones that will bring some major dollars.
What all is involved in a show?
Tractor shows are just like a car show. There's shows set up just for garden tractors. There's shows that have varieties. One of the clubs that I belong to, we are a working historical farm show. We do everything from horses all the way up to the 60s era.
Did American Motors ever make a Pacer lawn tractor?
Not that I know of. Well, they didn't actually make a tractor, but there was a lot of manufacturers, Fords, Chryslers, Dodges, that actually took a car or a truck and converted it into a tractor during the war years because they didn't have tractors because everything was being used for the war effort. And they actually took the rear end. You could buy kits from Sears and Roebuck, and they actually took it out and farmed with it.
I've noticed on TV that they're actually racing them now. Is that something that's considered sacrilegious to you hardcore collectors?
We don't do it, but the guys that do it, they're crazy. Yeah. They take a stock engine, they put a great big pulley underneath the engine, and they can be going 30, 40 mile an hour on a garden tractor. And over here, Doug, we have another part of my collection. These are push mowers. They're not real big in the hobby yet, but I've had these at several shows this past year. Everybody's asking all kinds of questions. They didn't realize there's such a variety in push mowers. As you can see, I've got some from the 40s and the 30s, all the way up into the early 70s.
Wow, there's some pretty wild designs here.
Yeah, there really is. That one over there in the front is an experimental. Briggs & Stratton built that only 2 years, and it's designed so that you can do all the mechanical work up on top of the engine. The engine right next to it, that's the same engine, and you can see the difference. It's all enclosed.
My great-grandmother had an old push mower like that, and I remember that thing was hard to move.
If they're sharpened and adjusted right, they do a fabulous job.
One thing I've decided is you get pretty dirty collecting these things.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You always got to keep your rag close at hand.
You know, like the riders, there's a lot of different colors I've noticed in these.
It's amazing that the color combinations that they use.
What's with the Homeco unit? It's got that big red shield on the front. What's that for, low bushes?
That's self-propelled. It was made in 1957, and the red part up front is the gearbox.
I didn't realize that self-propelled lawnmowers went back that far.
I didn't really either until I started working on them and started collecting them. I thought the self-propelleds came in the late 60s, but evidently not.
It's amazing how even the designs are so vastly different, even the size of the wheels. This is a rather unique looking lawnmower.
It looks like it's home built, but it's actually built in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a 1953 Pony. It was designed for carnival rides and amusement parks. And this one actually came from Kittyland up in Chicago. The kids would actually get on this, and there was a bumper that went all the way around, and they ran a rail system so they couldn't get off the track because these rails would keep them inside this border. And they just pull the handle back, and that's what made it go. When they released the handle, it stopped moving. So I put a bigger engine in. This is about a 3/4 horse, and that's a 3 horse, so somebody my size can actually ride it. It was designed for little kids.
Well, you're just a big kid at heart, right? I mean, if you're going to own it, you got to ride it.
Well, yeah, I'm still a kid at heart. It's amazing how much attention it drew and how many people have told me that, hey, I rode one of them up in Chicago.
You know, I remember riding something like this as a kid. Maybe not a tractor, but little Model T cars that had their own little engine in them. Even though it's not a lawnmower, it fits right into your collection. I mean, it's a great accessory.
It's been a big hit wherever we've gone. Most of the hobby, though, my thrill comes from meeting people. One of the clubs that I belonged to in 2008, I was able to start a young kids program. And we're teaching them the fundamentals of working on stuff, where they actually do hands-on experience. These kids are our future, and without that, and without us spending the time now, who knows what will happen. If this hobby takes a break for even 1 year, it's gone forever. So we need to keep these kids involved, teach them the history, and tell them why, so that this will continue on.
And so we bid Dave adieu for now, out here where every day's an adventure, and there's always high grass ahead. Got a collection that you think is neat, unique, cool? Drop us a line, send us a few pictures at collectingseriously.com.
Today I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You know how you're always asking me how I got so smart?
Yeah,
Well, some of my knowledge can be attributable to this little robot.
Indeed.
This is a game that I played a lot when I was a kid, and the way it works is you put him on this side of the board, and then you can spin him around to any of these questions.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask you a question, and then you give me the answer.
Sounds good.
What is the stretch of water separating Russia and Alaska?
Can I phone a friend?
And the way it works is you set it over here on the mirror,
Okay.
and the amazing robot spins around and points to
Bering
the Bering Strait.
Speaking of the Bering Strait, do you ever notice how some collectors lose their bearings and stray away from what they began to collect?
Well, like Bob, He started collecting robots, got into spaceships, Star Wars memorabilia, even a robot rug.
Yeah, exactly. Let me try this. I'll move him over to this question here. Name the loading line on British merchant vessels.
Well, that would be the International Load Line or the Plimsoll Mark.
The Plimsoll Mark? You think so? Final answer? Okay, let's try it. Plimsoll Mark, there you have it.
And Dave went from collecting garden tractors and lawnmowers to buying a kiddie ride.
Yeah, looked like a tractor though. Okay, will collecting seriously ever become a hit TV show?
That's not a question on this board.
Sure it is. How's this thing work anyway?
Well, I'll tell you like my dad told me when I was about your age. It's magical.
In which sea is it impossible
Name
to
the region of the Atlantic which is covered
What's the name of the first ship sunk in World War II?
Name the warm Atlantic current which
Which
flows
sea
out
separates Northeast Africa
Which
from...
bird do sailors consider it unlucky?
Would Chrissy Dalrymple ever have gone out with me in high school?
I don't know how he's done it, but Jimmy has turned this question game into a platform for personal fantasy requests.
I'll tell you what I want. I want to be a millionaire and have an Aston Martin like James Bond had in Goldfinger. That's what I want. Make it happen.